Hey guys, what is going on? It is Brooke, or the Undead DM, and I am back at it again with another video for you today. And in today's episode of Homebrew Review, we're going to be going over the maneuvers for the Targon Heroic Fighter rework. Now, if you guys haven't seen the first two videos, I will leave a link in the description below, as well as a link to my Homebrew Review playlist. If you feel so inclined, please go ahead and check that out. Leave a like, comment, subscribe if you want to see more. And with that being said, let's just get right into it. So, he hasn't really changed a lot of the maneuvers. He's mainly given higher tier maneuvers to the fighter as part of it. You'll notice some here that you'll recognize, like ambush, uh, like bait and switch, brace, commanding presence, disarming attack. A lot of these are just very similar to what you're very familiar with, like parry, precision strike, quick toss, tactical assessment. Some of them just have slight different names. Other than that, basically the first level ones that you can get aren't really all that different. So basically, ambush, stealth checks, brace, you gain temporary hit points, commander strike, you can command somebody to do something as a reaction. Commanding presence, you can make a check, specifically an intimidation, performance, or persuasion check. With disarming attack, you disarm somebody. Then distracting display is essentially goading attack, where the person gets advantage on their, or gets to roll their die to hit. On the next turn, evasive footwork at AC. Forceful attack, you push a creature away from you. Intercept, ally within 5 feet of you. Reaction, you reduce, you swap places with them. So this is essentially bait and switch. Lunging strikes, this is the one that gives you additional reach. Maneuvering tactics, this allows you to move a lot better, and people that you choose within 30 feet of you can move. Parrying strike, you add AC as a reaction, and then you can make an attack if they miss, or if they hit. Precision strikes allow you to add it to the attack roll. The quick grapple, which allows you to grapple as a bonus action. Quick toss, where you can make an attack with a thrown property, or with a weapon with a thrown property. And then tactical assessment, you can either make an investigation, history, or insight check. And unstoppable, I think, might be new, where if you have to be grappled, restrained, knocked prone, or moved against your will, you can add one of your die to the check. And then he moves on to level 6 features, or level 6 tactics here. There are quite a few of them. So, athletic stance, you can expend a die. Your movement speed is doubled. You have advantage on athletics and acrobatics. And the first time you grapple or shove a creature, you can deal damage to them equal to the roll of your die plus your strength. The Cavalier's Bond, which requires the Cavalier, I guess, fighting style in this case, is the best way I would describe it. While you are mounted and your mount takes damage, you can expend a die to negate the damage, and then you take psychic damage equal to the damage it dealt, or equal to one roll of your die instead. Defensive stance, you basically gain the benefits of half cover until the start of your next turn. And the first time you take damage while in this stance, you get to reduce the damage by a roll of your die plus your fighter level. Devastating attack, this is one that requires the Ravager fighting style, where when you hit a creature with a weapon attack, you can expend 2 dice, and you add the dice to the damage roll, and they have to make a con save, and if they fail, they have disadvantage on all attack rolls until the start of your next turn. I'll give my very, very brief thoughts on the basic maneuvers. They are exactly what you see on the tin. They are the Battlemaster maneuvers from Battlemaster. They're very simple, very easy. Everyone knows what they are, what they do. Some of them might just have slight name changes. As level 1 through 5, I think these are fine, and having these throughout the entire subclass for Battlemaster was fine because you could just get rid of the ones you don't want, and you don't really have to pick up all the ones. You could only pick up half, but with the increased number of maneuvers that you get, and the fact that these don't gain any additional power despite being the initial maneuvers is a bit sad. Let me show you guys real quick my fighter rework, which is very much based on this Targon rework. You'll see here that I have things like Forceful Bash, where you expend a die and you have an activation, and then you have an effect that happens, and then if you expend more dice whenever you use this maneuver, it gains additional effects. So I think something like that would be a lot better for these lower level ones and give them really good ones, like really good buffs. So like for disarming attack, I was actually speaking with Targon earlier, and I was telling him about disarming attack. And I was saying that yes, disarming attack is very good at early levels, but then once you reach 7th level, where your die starts to increase. I know it doesn't actually increase at 7th level specifically, but once the die starts increasing in size, all you're getting is more damage. Because, like I said to him, if you use this, because it still has the restriction currently that you can only use one maneuver per turn, that if you use disarming attack and the creature succeeds the save, all you get is the damage. You might as well have just played a paladin at that point because you're expending a resource to do additional damage to gain no additional benefit. So the fact that it is a maneuver that you get at early levels, and then these essentially become obsolete by the time you reach level 7 or level 6 when you get these better maneuvers, which sometimes can do what these maneuvers are trying to do but better, then why even use them? But anyway, back to this. So then you get Glancing Blow, where when you miss with an attack, you can expend a die, roll it, and deal damage to the person that you missed equal to the number rolled plus your strength or dex. That's it. Goading Cry. This is essentially bonus action. You expend 2 dice, and you could choose any number of creatures within 30 feet of you that can see or hear you, and they have to make a wisdom save, and if they fail until the start of your next turn, they can't move away from you, and it has disadvantage on attack rolls against anyone other than you, and any damage it deals to creatures other than you is reduced by an amount equal to 2 rolls of your die plus your charisma mod. This is actually pretty good. It's a very nice kind of pseudo aggro magnet ability. It's very nice. Menacing Cry, bonus action, 2 dice. So I'm going to say this right now. I believe every 6th level one, each 6th level maneuver costs 2 dice. So I'm just going to get that out of the way right now. So Menacing Cry, choose any number of creatures within 30 feet of you. They have to make a wisdom save or take psychic damage equal to the 2 rolls of your die plus your charisma modifier and become frightened until the start of your next turn. Not bad. Over offensive stance, when you do so, at the start of your turn, you can enter a stance, and then you roll a d4 and add it to any weapon attack rolls you make before the start of your next turn, and then you add the die to the damage roll of the first attack, benefiting from this bonus. Parting Shot. Immediately before you move out of an enemy's reach, you can make a melee weapon attack against that creature, and if it hits, you add the die to the damage roll, which is basically the inverse of the other one, I'm trying to remember, the precision strike. So instead of adding to hit, it adds to damage, and only to damage. Piercing Strike, it requires the marksman fighting style. When you take the attack action, forego one of your attacks to make a piercing attack. Choose a weapon that you are wielding that either has ammunition or thrown. You create a 5-foot wide line in a direction you choose. That's length is equal to the long range of the weapon. Each creature in that line has to make a dex save, taking damage equal to 2 rolls of your die. On a failed, half as much on success. and you have to expend ammunition or throw your weapon in order to use it. Pretty standard. Rallying Cry. On your turn, bonus action, 30 any number of creatures within 30 feet of you that you choose gain temporary hit points equal to 2 rolls of your die plus charisma. It's a nice party boost. Relinquish Ground. It requires the skirmisher fighting style. When you're hit with a melee weapon attack, or when you're hit with a melee attack, use your reaction, expend 1 die. I think this is one of the few that are actually different. Expend 1 die, move up to half your speed, roll the die and add the number rolled to your AC. Sentinel Strike, which requires the Bastion fighting style. When a creature moves at least 5 feet while within your reach, expend a die, make an opportunity attack, and if it hits, add the die to the damage, and their speed is reduced to 0. So this is another one that only requires 1. Steel Will, it's 6th level. Apologies, I already know it's at 6th level, but when you use Action Surge, expend 1 die, adding a condition on yourself, and the condition can either be Charmed, Frightened, Paralyzed, Poisoned, or Stunned. And if you end a condition this way, you gain temporary hit points equal to the die roll plus your wisdom. Adds another use on top of Action Surge. It's very nice. Sweeping Strike. Hit a creature with a melee weapon attack. Expend 1 die. Attempt to damage another creature. And choose any number of creatures within 5 feet of the original target within your reach. The chosen targets take damage equal to 1 roll of your die plus the original attack's ability modifier if the original attack would have hit. And the damage of the same is dealt by the original attack. This is a little bit confusing. I think I know where he's going with this, though. So you hit a creature, and if you hit, you can use this, and you can choose any number of creatures within 5 feet of the original target, and that are also within your reach, and they take damage equal to 1 roll of your die, plus the original attack's ability modifier if the original attack roll would hit. So basically, they would take... If you're facing like a horde of goblins and they all have an AC of 13, and you roll like a 26 to hit somehow, then they would take the ability modifier damage because they all have the same AC. I assume that's how it works. Targon, if you're watching this, leave a comment below or message me, and I'll put it in a pinned comment and fix that little thing, but I'm pretty sure that's how it works. So, level 10, here we go. You get Armor Piercing Strike, where you make a weapon attack against a creature, expend 2 dice, and make the attack against an AC that equals 10, plus the dexterity modifier of the attack's target. And instead of the target's normal armor class, and if it hits, you add the die to the damage. So basically, it nerfs a lot of armor characters, but doesn't really hinder the natural armor of characters. Though it can if their dexterity is lower than what their AC would normally be with 10 plus. Which does kind of make it easier to hit dragons, but eh. Battle Charge. Start of your first turn of combat. Expend 2 dice. Choose any number of creatures within 30 feet of you. And any number of them that are surprised are no longer surprised. Then they also can move up to their speed as long as they move towards an enemy creature, and a chosen creature can use its reaction to do the same. And a chosen creature gains a bonus to the first damage roll it makes equal to 2 rolls of your tactical die. Concussive Blow. Hit a creature with a weapon attack, expend 1 die, and you add the die to the damage roll, and the creature has to make a con save or become dazed. While dazed, the creature can't take reactions, and during its turn, it must choose whether it gets a move action, an action, or a bonus action, and it gets only 1. It's actually a pretty good condition. It kind of reminds me of like a minor version of the slow spell. Critical Carnage. It requires the Ravager fighting style. When you score a critical hit with a weapon attack, expend 1, 2, 3 different die. So you can expend either 1, 2, or 3. The attack deals maximum damage, and you can immediately roll each of the tactical die and add it to the attack's and deal damage to the attack's target equal to double the amount rolled. So basically, you deal maximum crit, and then you get to roll additional die and add that times 2 on top of that crit. So if you roll 3d6 and you roll 3 6s, you deal 18 times 2 in additional damage. It's pretty nice. Delay death. Whenever you start your turn with 0 hit points, expend 1 die and regain that number of hit points regain a number of hit points equal to the number rolled plus con mod. It's nice. It's pretty good. Evasive action. It requires the skirmisher fighting style. If you're subjected to an effect such as a red dragon's fiery breath, and you have to make a dex saving throw, take half damage on it. It's just evasion. But you use your reaction to use this maneuver, and you add the roll to your saving throw. It's basically just evasion with extra steps. Frenzied attack. Whenever you reduce a creature's 0 hit points, you can expend 1 die and make a weapon attack. And if the attack hits, you add the die to the damage roll. Guardian Strike, which requires the Bastion feature. Whenever you hit a creature with an opportunity attack, you can expend 1 die and add the die to the attack's damage roll, and the next time the creature makes an attack, it automatically misses. It's a pretty good ability. It kind of adds a little bit more utility in combat outside of just I deal more damage. Inspiring Presence. When an ally within 30 feet of you fails a saving throw against being charmed, frightened, paralyzed, poisoned, or stunned, use your reaction, roll a die, add it to the saving throw. So basically, you give them your old Indomitable feature, but slightly weaker. Ironclad Defense. When a creature hits you with an attack that benefits from advantage, so whenever a creature hits you with advantage, you can use your action, expend 1 die, and you force them to roll a d20 and use the new roll for its attack. Then roll your die and subtract the result from the creature's attack total. So basically, it's silvery barbs. Silvery barbs, just a little bit more interesting. Trample while you're mounted. Oh, it requires Cavalier. So while mounted, when your mount moves, you expend 2 die, and your mount can move through spaces. And if your mount moves through a creature space, they have to make the creature can't be any larger than the mount, and the creature must make a dex saving throw or take bludgeoning damage equal to 2 rolls of your die plus your con mod, half as much on success, and they're knocked prone if they fail. Volley requires Marksman, where you can use your action to expend 3 die to make a ranged attack against any number of creatures within a 10-foot point you can see. You use the ammunition required, and if the weapon has a thrown property, you have to have on your person a sufficient number of those weapons. Make a separate attack roll for each. This is the rapid fire thing from the Dungeon Master's Guide for Firearms that allowed you to just target a 10-foot cube area and just expend 10 pieces of ammunition for that. Whirlwind Assault. This is very familiar from the Hunter Ranger. Whenever you use your action, you can expend 3 tactical dice and make melee attacks against any number of creatures within 5 feet of you. Roll an attack for each, and if the attack hits, add the tactical die to the damage roll. Now we get on to level 16, where you get against the odds at the start of your turn, expend 2 die, and until the start of your next turn, your attack rolls gain a +2 bonus for each hostile creature within 30 feet of you, and then you add the die to the damage roll of the first attack you hit before you hit with the benefits of this bonus. Which is nice. Desperate Dodge. When you're hit with an attack, you can use your reaction to expend 1 die. You negate the damage, and if you do so, you add the tactical die to the next damage roll made, or to the next attack roll made against you. So basically, it's like Reckless Attack. Grievous Attack. When you hit with an attack, expend 3 die. Attempt to send the target in shock. You add the tactical die to the damage roll, and the creature becomes paralyzed until the end of your next turn. I think that could have been a little bit earlier, but that's just me. Guiding Presence. When an ally within 30 feet of you hits with an attack, you can use your action to expend 1 die and roll the attack's damage, and add the roll to the attack's damage. Moreover, the attack scores a critical hit. So basically, you could just give an ally a crit. Master Strike. When you use your action and expend 3, you can expend 3 die to cast the Steel Wind Strike spell. And when you cast the spell, you make a melee weapon attack with the weapon used as a spell's material instead of the normal melee spell attacks. The spell deals damage of the same type that your weapon deals instead of force damage, and the effect produced is considered non-magical, and the tactical dice to spell add the tactical dice to the spell's damage against one of the spell's targets. I don't know why it's one and not all of them. I think that would be a nice buff, but that's just me. Rain of Steel. When you take the attack action, you can expend 2 dice, forego one of your attacks, and when you do so, each creature within your reach has to make a dex save or take slashing damage equal to 2 rolls of your die plus your strength or dex. The damage is the same type as your weapon, and until the start of your next turn, any creature that starts its turn within your reach or moves into it has to make the same saving throw. Furious Reprisal. When a creature within 30 feet of you, when a creature deals at least 30 points of damage with a single attack or effect to an ally that you can see, use your action, expend 3 dice, move up to your speed, and make 3 weapon attacks. These attacks have advantage, and if they target the creature that damaged your ally, and if an attack hits, add 1 tactical die to the attack's damage roll. Surge of Vitality. When you use your action surge or second wind feature, you can expend any number of dice with a minimum of 1, and when you do so, your movement speed is doubled for the rest of the turn, and for each die you expend, you gain temporary hit points equal to the one roll of your die plus your fighter level. See, that's what all of them need. The more die you spend, the bigger the benefit. I think the lower level ones need these a lot more than the higher level ones. Because why use the lower level ones with a chance to fail when you could use something like Surge of Vitality and just get all your health back, or get Master Strike? Like, yeah, I know the lower level ones have some utility, but when they also have a chance to fail, and yeah, you're expending less resources to use them, but the effect could end up being better than a higher level one, having no incentive to use them outside of the 1d12 additional damage, which is an average of 6 points of damage, is not a really good incentive in my opinion. They just need a little bit of a buff. Tactical Treat. As a bonus action, expend 1 die, roll it, add the number rolled to your AC, and the AC of allies within 30 feet of you that you choose, and they have the AC bonus for 1 minute or until it damages another creature or casts a spell. While a creature has the AC, their movement doesn't provoke opportunity attacks, so kind of a get the hell out of here situation. Unerring Accuracy. When you miss with an attack, you can expend 1 die, roll it, add the number rolled to the attack roll, and if you still miss after rolling it, you can expend another die, roll it, and add the roll to your attack roll. Now, what's interesting is that it just says if you miss after rolling it, you can expend another die, meaning you can essentially just keep adding die, because it doesn't say you can only use this once. You could just, when you miss with an attack, expend 1 die, and if it still misses, you can add another die. It doesn't say you can only use that last part once, meaning you could just go, I roll a d6. Okay, well, you still don't hit. Alright, I roll another d6. Okay, well, you still don't hit. Okay, I roll another d6. Okay, you still don't hit. I roll another d6. Okay, finally you hit. So you can potentially roll up to like maybe 6 dice just to get your attack to hit, if you rolled really, really badly. Wall of Fortitude, which is the final one here. As a bonus action on your turn, expend 2 dice and enter a protective stance, and until the start of your turn, creatures of your choice cannot move into any space within 5 feet of you, and if a creature attempts to do so, they take damage, bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing damage equal to 2 rolls of your die, and their speed is reduced to 0. Now, he did make some feats down here, which are pretty nice. I might go over those in a shorter, separate video. But overall, I think the main issue with the maneuvers right now is that, yes, obviously the higher you go, the more powerful they should get. But the fact that the baseline Battlemaster maneuvers are here at level 1 through 5 and then you get all the way up to level 6, and they just get better. And then you essentially have no reason to use the lower level ones, because why use Brace when you can use a defensive stance, because it can give you pretty much the same number. Oh, sorry, not defensive stance. What is it? Why not just use Rallying Cry? It gives you and your allies more temporary hit points. Why not use other ones? Like, yeah, obviously the logic is, well, what if you're not at that level? You are correct. But once you reach that level, there's really no incentive to use some of the maneuvers from level 1 through 5 when the maneuvers from 6 through 10, 10 through 15, and level 16 are just strictly better than some of the lower level ones. Personally, I would do something similar to what I did, where you, and also Hein from The Form of Dread, where he added some kind of bonus effect the more resources you spend on something to kind of incentivize you to use lower level ones in higher tier games, because without that incentive, people are just going to get rid of what they will not be using because they're just weaker versions. And I mean, it does suck, that is how it is. But if we just buffed the lower ones and then gave every single one some form of enhancement or additional effect the more die they use, and gradually rein in the enhancement from level 1 to level 10, or from level 1 to level 16, like level 1, say for instance disarming attack, if they fail they drop their weapon, but then you could do something like what I did, where if they fail to save, you can also pull the weapon 15 feet towards you, allowing you to potentially catch it in your hand, which is also going to be getting a slight buff because that's a little too weak. Or another one where Commander Strike, you could take an action on your turn, choose a friendly creature, and they immediately make one attack. No reaction required. And if you expend an additional die, they gain temporary hit points equal to half the damage they deal. So see, there's kind of an incentive for you to use additional die. Yes, granted, my fighter does have 20d12 as opposed to his like 90d12, so he has a little less than half of mine, which is fair. But you also see that the size increases. And that's because I'm going the same way with like my rogue rework, where they're getting the same number, but they're using it in a similar manner where there is resources. And also the maneuvers known from his go from 3 to 15. Meanwhile, mine is more akin to spellcast preparation, where you gain, where you learn 4 tactics at level 1, and then you gain 2 tactics per fighter level. So it's similar to how Wizard does it, where they get more and more spells. But it also helps because a lot of the subclasses that I'm working on, they also have their own maneuvers, which I haven't quite gotten to, as you can see. But a lot of them are going to have their own maneuvers that they can pick from that are exclusive to them. So it gives them not only like the 30 plus options in mind, but then they also have their own specialty ones. A great example of this is the Rogue, where you got all the normal ones that you could pick from, but then once you go into like Arcane Trickster, you got these other ones you could pick from. So something more of a subclass identity with a few of the subclasses, maybe more ways to regain dice outside of a short rest, more uses of it besides once per turn. And just in general, more ways to use dice rather than just deal damage and then gain bonus effect on a failed save. And a lot of them are strength, dex, con. Very few are wisdom or charisma saves, and they're mostly like fear or charm effects. But a lot of creatures near tier 2 and tier 3 are going to be pretty much immune to charm and frighten effects, so those won't be used. And they're also going to have high wisdom or high charisma saves at that point. So it's a little sad that a lot of the maneuvers just basically say, in short, do bonus effect on a failed save, but don't do anything except add to damage on a successful one. Maybe some buffs to these, add something more to incentivize players to use lower level ones. Just buff all of them all around, because they're pretty. I'm gonna be honest, a lot of them are pretty weak for the levels that they're at. Like I do not think that Wall of Fortitude feels like a 16th level feature, especially when one level later, while you can essentially create an area of effect of Sentinel without actually having to do anything. One level later, wizards can just give you an additional 300 health, 3 legendary resistances, and a Dragon's Breath weapon that deals 60 to 90 damage with 1 spell slot. Meanwhile, you're expending 2 die to do something not that good. So a general buff all around for all the tactics, and then maybe add some enhancements that get a little bit worse the higher level you go, but make the base tactic better. More ways to regain tactics, like you gain 1 on a crit, and then if you regain 1 each turn, something like that. But with that being said, this is a bit of a longer video than I have made in a while. So if you guys like what you've seen, please leave a like, comment, subscribe if you want to see more. And in the next episode, it will be my Christmas special for all you lads and ladies, all you aspiring, uh, optimizers. I will be doing a video on how really I come about with my, and also the community of, as in general, their calculations and how they really go through their mind about what is good, what is bad, the math behind it, why we use certain things. But with that being said, I will see you all in the next video. Ciao.